All right, hello and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. Today is November 23rd, 2019, and we have Carla back in the saddle. What's going on, Carla? Glad to be back. You good?
Yeah, it's a rainy day in Alabama.
All right, well, I hope you're ready because it's nice to have you back. So we are going to start our pre-Australian Open 2020 shows as we speak. We're going to start them right now. So usually we start them at the beginning of December, but hey, due to this injury, and I won't get into that, there's a separate playlist for my knee injury, but we're going to start the run-up to the Australian Open as we speak. So first of all, real quickly, we always do 2 different prize giveaways for every major. I'm not going to get too far into that now because it'll take up some time and it's still a little ways off. But we will be giving away 2 sets of YTEX strings and either a YTEX shirt. Again, these are YTEX strings, YTEX shirts, or a 5K tennis shirt to the, yes, there you go, to the 2 top winners of our fantasy team competition that we normally do. So real quickly, how that fantasy team competition works is once the draws come out for the Australian Open, anybody that wants to compete for those prizes will, of course, need to subscribe. That's your only qualification, really. Just make sure you're subscribed.
That's pretty easy.
It's pretty
just
easy
hit a button and
to do.
subscribe. That's it. You're done.
Yeah, you're done in order to qualify. But what we do is everyone will select 8 men's players and 8 women's players once the draws are released. And only 4 of those men and 4 of those women can be seeded in the tournament, not ranked in the world. Sometimes that'll throw you off a bit, but must be can be seeded in the top 20, and the other 4 that you select, men and women, must be seeded outside of the top 20. Or you can pick as many players seeded outside of the top 20 as you want, but it's max 4 seeded inside the top 20. And then we accumulate points, the 1 point per those that are seeded within the top 20, and 2 points for every match win for those that are seeded outside of the top 20. The last couple of winners had the majority of their players outside of the top 20, so we'll talk more about that as we move forward. Then we will be giving away a tennis racket as usual. The last tennis racket we gave away was to Matt Cain in London, who won a Wilson Byrne 100S.
I wonder if he's even played with it.
I don't know, he sent us a video when he won that, didn't he?
Yeah, he looks kind of busy there.
Yeah.
He sings and stuff, and I think he plays music. He plays an instrument, piano, I think, so I think he's a pretty busy guy.
Yeah, well,
I hope you're playing tennis with it.
Yeah, so we're going to be giving away this YTEX V-Core 97. No one won it for the U.S. Open. Matt Cain won that Wilson Byrne during Wimbledon, right?
Yes.
So it is freshly strung with YTEX Strings Pro Tour Black, freshly overgripped, and it's a nice racket. So with a 4.5-inch grip. And how you will qualify for that is for the Australian Open. You will predict the men's finals, and you will predict the women's finals and predict their winners, okay? As long as you get 3 out of the 4 finalists and select both winners, you will win the tennis racket. So it does happen. It's about a $200 setup, so it's well worth your time to at least submit your answers, and Matt Cain knows it can happen, as well as Arvis out there. Arvis won a racket as well, so it definitely happens. Predict your men's final, predict your women's final, and the winners, men's final winner and women's final winner, and get 3 of the 4 finalists. So you got a mulligan in there, right?
Yeah.
And then pick both winners, and you will win the tennis racket. If there's a tie, we always look at who lost that maybe 3rd player who didn't, but we always work it out. All right, so enough of that, getting right into today's show. So this is just the beginning of the Australian Open show. So what we did, Carla and I, is we sat down this morning, and we wrote down about 20 topics just to toss around. We may only get through a few, we may get through all 20, but let's comment on them below as kind of a 5K tennis fam. Everybody, let's get involved in the conversation, and let's just start it.
Sure.
All right? So I'm going to read off number 1, and if you comment on them below, just indicate what number, and then we'll talk about it. So number 1, if you had to give an MVP for the 2019 season to 1 male player and 1 female player, most valuable player, MVP, who would it be, Carla?
I think that, without a question, it would have to be Nadal, because he won 2 slams and he's number 1 in the world. For female, Andreescu. I mean, there are a few other contenders, but obviously he had the best record of the year. Nadal won 4 titles. He won the Italian Open, he won Canada Open, he won French Open, and he won the U.S. Open, which none of us expected. And, are you okay?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
And then he was in the run for the #1 ranking, which he got at the end of the year since Djokovic lost. I think some of you will argue that Djokovic could be the MVP. He also won 2 slams, the Australian Open the beginning of the year, and then Wimbledon, defeating Federer in the final. He had 5 titles: Madrid Open, Japan Open, and Paris Master, which are pretty good. And he's #2 in the world, and that's why I give Nadal the lead in that one. We didn't expect him to be #1. I don't think anyone expected him to win a U.S. Open.
Okay,
They're pretty much counting him out.
I can see that. I mean, you have Djokovic and Nadal, who both won 2 majors. I understand that. I'm going to go in a different direction in a brief way. Let's comment on it below. But I'm gonna give the MVP of the 2019 season to Stefanos Tsitsipas, even though he did not win a major. And I'll briefly say why. Isn't it to be expected that the big 3 are going to win pretty much every major? As we know, last 46 of 50 or 47 of 52, whatever it is. I think it's to be expected. And yes, we've had the Del Potros and the Murrays and Wawrinkas, get a scattering in there. But I don't think we've ever seen someone kind of step in and always be hanging around and being so young. Won the ATP finals at the end of the year, beat Federer, at the quarterfinals of the Australian Open, I think it was, in 2019. I may have that wrong. I'm going to give it to Tsitsipas, but let's comment on that below.
Well, I would put him in the category of as the most improved tennis player of the year instead of the most valuable. Why? Well, Tsitsipas is 6. He did not do well in the slams. In the beginning of the year, he did. He beat Federer, like you said, at the Australian Open. Our neighbors, they're always working.
That's okay.
Even in the rain.
Yeah, I think it's a boat motor. But
even in the rain, they're cutting grass or doing something.
It's okay.
He reached the semifinals of the Australian Open, 4th round of the French Open, and didn't do so well in the next 2 slams. He did win 3 titles, ATP finals, as we saw, Estoril and Marseille. So I would say he's the most improved and the one that has the most potential for next year.
That's a good topic because we didn't write down the most improved player.
To me, he's the most improved.
That's a great ad. Glad you're back in the seat because that's a great topic. We didn't write it, so don't indicate it in your comments below because we won't be able to follow your comments accordingly. So number 1, if you had to name an MVP of 2019, who would it be? She went with Nadal. I went with Tsitsipas only because, again, we expect one of those big 3 to be the MVP, so I gave it to the unexpected. However, her non-related topic was great. The most improved player. And we could have done a most disproved, the most faded away player. We could have done that as well.
Well, Coric would be in that category.
Borna Coric, yeah. So great. But MVP for 2019, who would it be?
And Stevens for women.
Well, I think we have something about some of those players coming up. All right, so topic number 2. And this one
What about the women? We didn't talk about the women.
Oh, MVP for women. Yes, we only did men. MVP women, who is it?
I would have to say it's close, but I would have to give it to Bianca Andreescu because she won the U.S. Open at the end of the year. She won Indian Wells, Rogers Cup. In the beginning of the year, she had won a 125K, which was Newport Beach, and she was number 68 at that point. She wins the Indian Wells, which was a huge win over Kerber. Then she gets injured. Had to pull out of the Miami Open, French Open, was still injured. We saw her injured for a while. She comes back into the hard court season, defeats Serena by retirement, and then she wins the U.S. Open. So I would have to say she's the most improved and the most valuable player. And close in second, I would have to say Osaka because she did also win a slam at the Australian Open. Her and her coach Bajin split up. And then she has a slump, gets another coach. Jeremy, I forgot his name, gets another coach. Bad year. And then she pulls out the Asian Open, where she wins the China Open and Torrey Pan Pacific. But still, I think Andreescu has a much, much better year than her.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more here. If you do take into consideration that Andreescu basically dominated hard courts.
She did.
From early season to the end of the season, won the U.S. Open. She didn't play. I don't think, if I remember correctly, she didn't play at all on clay. Briefly, I think on grass. There was some fitness / injury tweaks along the way, and a little bit of an injury tweak late in the year. I think it was at the ATP. Women's final, or was it before?
She
like
pulled
in
out.
Shenzhen in China?
It was the ATP's, WTA. They're not.
Oh yeah, WTA.
She pulled out of it. I think she lost to Pliskova or pulled out on that one, injured.
So yeah, so just her sheer domination of one surface, or you could argue, I guess, against that, saying, well, she only dominated one surface, but no one, I think you could say, dominated
and
the women's game more. And so your topic also, you mentioned most improved player. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It would be both.
She jumped from being, in the 60s, late 60s, jumping into 4 in the world. I mean, just last year at the U.S. Open, she was qualifying, and then she wins it. So most improved for sure, and most valuable.
Comment on it below. That took way too long, so we may have to break up all these topics into numerous shows. But hey, that's great because it's the off season. Let's go. And it feels good to be back in this seat too, especially with this knee. Topic number 2, and let's do this one briefly. Topic number 2: who are the players that have the worst habits on court? In other words, game related bad habits on the men's and women's side. Chris, how much time are we looking at, by the way? Chris is our awesome producer back there. So we're at 11 minutes?
Oh,
okay.
Fine.
Okay, so we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chris. He's been on the spot today. Good to have him back as well. Thank you very much, Chris. Let's go. If it wasn't for him on these videos a lot and the other 4 babysitting one another upstairs, it wouldn't be possibly back in the seat today. So appreciate all the children's running around. All right. So who have some of the worst habits that you see as a fan or as a coach that you watch on the court in the game today? The worst on-court habits.
Don't hate me, guys. Djokovic bouncing the ball so many times, but I think it's improved because of the what is it called? The clock.
The shot clock.
The shot clock.
And well, you want to go back and forth, so
sure. I would say Djokovic, not number 1. I'm just naming one.
Okay. I'm gonna actually go to a stroke production habit, and I'm gonna roll over to Dominic Thiem, always jumping at his backhand. If you watch the ATP finals, especially, and he's done this, I've harped on this. I've griped on this for a year and a half doing these shows about Thiem jumping at his backhand. I had a wild hair to do kind of a live play-by-play video, which I know was awful, but I was parked on the couch during the ATP finals, so I just decided to do one. But I know Wild Live 1 out there, and I know Wild Live 1 will be watching this, but he realized it as well during that match, because incessantly Thiem would jump and hit the one-handed backhand, and it was very erratic and cost Thiem that match, in my opinion. So I'll say Thiem jumping at his one-handed backhand instead of staying down and hitting through the ball.
Next one I'm going to pick on is Nadal, my favorite guy. He takes way too long between serves. It could be annoying to another player. His habits, they're just so, what do you call it, OCD, just...
kind of compulsive.
It would get on my nerves, so I would name Nadal next one.
All right, so you've gone to kind of shenanigan habits. You've gone to well, also Nadal picks his underwear a lot.
Yeah, it's just a bad habit. You said bad habits.
Yeah, okay, so okay, that's good. Okay, so for me, I think Carolina Pliskova could find a way to fire herself up more. I think she has a bad habit of not channeling positive energy at high intensity moments, and she just stays too even Steven, which is one of the reasons why I think Carolina Pliskova gets so close to finals at majors, or makes them and doesn't close the door on them. So I'll say Carolina Pliskova's inability to get fired up, let's go, come on, at the right moment.
Kerber would be another one, which is why she's had a bad year. Opening up to hit her forehand, she does what a few of my students do instead of stepping into the ball. She's always hitting off her back foot, which I think Sakari's in that group as well.
Yeah, so we have an acronym for that. So we call it, what was it? Hitting off the back foot forehand. I forget what the acronym was for that, but yeah, Maria Sakkari is a huge user of hitting off the back foot, kind of falling away from their shot instead of stepping in and hitting through it. They tend to hit off the back foot and fall away. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Denis Shapovalov flopping open on the one-handed backhand. So instead of hitting, staying down, and driving through the ball, You have Dominic Thiem that jumps up and hits it, and you have Shapovalov that tends to stay down, and then instead of keeping the racket on the playing side, he tends to pull it away, which leads to unforced errors as well. So I'll say Denis Shapovalov.
Bertens and Gorgas, I would have to put in the same category.
Service motion?
Service horrible. It's late. It's behind her. It's just an ugly form. And Gorgas gets a lot of hard serves in, but her toss is so high, it's ridiculous.
Those are two great ones. We'll end this topic on those. Bertens was the last one I had. If you watch Bertens serve, she has an effective serve. She makes it work. But if you watch her motion, it's not fluid into a throwing.
It's half of it. It's not the whole motion.
Yeah, she kind of gets here and flops her racket back on her back and kind of flops it over.
My arms hurt from lifting weights.
Yeah, but she makes it work. But it's kind of ugly to watch. So I'll call it a bad habit. All right. A couple of these topics we're going to run through real quickly. By the way, that was topic 2, worst habit. So if you comment on that below, hey, put a number 2, name your players and why, and we'll talk about it. Hey, pre-Australian Open shows, we talk about your comments moving forward. Topic number 3. The top two women that you think have the best opportunity to win the Australian Open in 2020. Go.
Osaka, Andreescu, and I'll put there Serena because she's won a lot of slams. Those are my 3.
I'm going to... Well, you had 3. Okay, I'm just going to give you 2. And in comments, if you want to list more and why, do it. I'll stick with 2. I'm going to say Ashley Barty only because, number 1, I think she is the best player in the world right now across all surfaces. She has a lot of great variety, great sportsmanship. She has experience.
She's great.
She has experience in other sports, namely cricket with hand-eye coordination. She has variety.
She's great. I disagree with you that she'll win it, though.
So we'll see.
We talked about the last Australian Open champs. It's been a long time. Margaret Court, and then on men's side, you got Mark Edmondson in 1976. It's a long time. 60s for Court.
Well, we know
Australians have a hard time winning their own slam.
And the Australians had a hard time closing the door on the women's side of the Fed Cup, too, losing to France,
So I don't see that happening for Barty. I think she has a better chance in the other surfaces.
All right, well, we disagree, so in comments below, let us know what you think about Barty as a favorite. I think she wants to break the cycle or drought thereof.
I don't think she will.
Of major winning Australians on their home turf. I think she wants to break that badly, and I think she has a good opportunity. My number 2 is Naomi Osaka. The only reason why I didn't put Andreescu in there is I know she has some issues with injury tweaks. I know the feeling. I was a player from a young age that always had injury tweaks, and I'm dealing with my biggest one now. Anyway, those are my 2 for the Australian Open I think have the best chance, Barty and Osaka, and I don't have Serena Williams in there because I've seen some recent photographs and she looks extremely unfit still. And that's
anytime we see her like in an event, because they're photoshopped, she looks great, but then you see a picture of her, a fan takes, you're like,
a little still, not a little still, like, a long way to go The topic number 4.
Well, what about the men?
That's what I'm getting to.
Oh, that's topic 4. Okay.
Topic number 4, the top 2 men that you think will win the Australian Open. Quickly, go.
Djokovic, and I'll go with Tsitsipas.
I agree with both of those. Djokovic, number 1, I think he's going to win his 8th. I know that there has been injury speculation, but I think there is more than meets the eye to those injuries.
We know he just lost Davis Cup. They had match point, so they lost their opportunity.
And again,
I don't even know why he's playing that. He should rest.
Well, Davis Cup is highly important, especially, and as you can imagine,
it is important, but it's changing.
Davis Cup gets watered down here in the U.S., and we've done a show on this. We won't get into it. The Davis Cup gets watered down here in the U.S., so a lot of U.S. fans don't really even know what it is. It's kind of like a World Cup of, like the Harry Potter Quidditch. Everyone comes together on a global stage, and it has more emphasis on different platforms internationally, and it has a lot of emphasis in Serbia, especially. A lot of our viewers, I think 10% of them are Serbian, so it's highly...
They lost, and it's Russia against Canada, and then it's Spain against Great Britain.
So it's a good semifinal setup. But back to who I think is going to win the top 2 men for the Australian Open. Djokovic won. I understand that they lost Davis Cup. So sorry. I was pulling for Serbia. I think they have a fine group of young players from such a small and war-torn area of the world, geopolitically, in terms of history. So vamos for that. But I think Djokovic will win his 8th here, and I think a lot of his injury... if you look at like American football, players go on injured reserve, or in American basketball, like the Los Angeles Clippers don't play Kawhi Leonard every night or Paul George because the season's long. and it comes and goes quickly. So load control, I think, is a lot of this injury stuff. Still looks good for sponsors to show up instead of not showing up at all and pulling out. You're still selling tickets by being there. So I don't buy into a lot of the Djokovic injury stuff. I think he will win the Australian Open personally, but I think my second contender will be Tsitsipas. I don't think Nadal's body will hold up to the vigorousness and the heat in Australia, and I don't think Roger Federer is going to do much of anything this year except sell tickets and PR stunts, but we'll see. So Tsitsipas and Djokovic would be my two. All right? Comment below. Who are your two? Here we go. So that was number 4. Remember that, top 2 men. Number 5, best chance to win a major this year outside of the big 3. This is topic number 5.
I would have to say for the men's, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, I give them a big chance. And then for the women, outside of the top 3 or just the men?
Let's do the men for this question. I didn't think about that one.
Yeah, because the women,
it's random. It seems
it's random. For the guys, I think this would be the year for those two, Tsitsipas and Medvedev.
So you say Tsitsipas or Medvedev has the best chance to win a major this year, a breakthrough major, besides the top 3.
Correct.
I didn't think about the women, so that's another. I mean, in terms of this question, because there is no big 3 on the women's side.
There is no big 3 on the women.
So that's a different topic for a different show, I think, but a good one nonetheless. I think the best chance to win a major outside of the big 3, in my opinion, would be Tsitsipas, only because he plays well on a fast court, and he's going to have basically 3 opportunities to do that. Australia, Wimbledon, and the U.S., they all play faster than
he's
clay.
Not bad on clay.
Not bad on clay, but I see that Medvedev...
He beat Djokovic in clay, and he lost to Nadal, so he's done well on clay.
Yes, I think Medvedev and TM have a chance to break through at the French, maybe, Medvedev at the U.S., and Medvedev anywhere, but I'm going to go with Tsitsipas as mine. Okay. Comment below on that. That was number 5. Topic number 6 involves the females. The best chance for a female to finally win 2 majors in 1 year. It seems every year someone wins, only one.
None will win 2 slams. None. We will have different champions. None.
I think that the cycle will be broken this year. I think Ashley Barty wins more than 1 major.
No way.
We'll see. Comment on that below. That's number 6. Carla disagrees with me and thinks that there'll be a separate winner for each major on the women's side. I'm going with Barty to win 2. I'm going to give her Australia.
That's the least one.
And I'm going to give her another one in there.
Okay.
All right.
She has a better chance of winning Wimbledon with her game.
All right. So that was topic number 6. Topic number 7. Does Aryna Sabalenka have a good season in 2020?
Hell no. Hell no. She might as well just win those small titles. Slam no.
I think
unless she changes her game plan.
Well, she needs to add variety to her game.
Yeah.
Sabalenka has always been someone that takes just a screwdriver in her toolbox to fix or build a house. She needs, a screwdriver, a hammer, a ladder.
She just has a forehand. That's it.
She needs variety. And also, I think Sabalenka needs to split ways with this kind of weird coaching setup.
She has no coaches.
Okay,
I know right now.
So
I don't think she has a coach.
Are they still kind of weird energy, like boyfriend and girlfriend-ish?
No, I don't think so. No.
Her coach was Dmitry Tursunov, right? Mm-hmm. And they kind of were semi-romantic, it seemed. They would argue on the sidelines, be speechless on the court. I think Sabalenka, though, has a good year this year. I think she is going to...
It says it's still her coach.
Yeah, I read it still was her coach, too. I think Sabalenka has a good year this year. I think as she ages and matures, at least from being getting older, I think she has a good year this year. I think she's added something to her toolbox. Remain to be seen. All right, next topic, number 8. Is this Roger Federer's last year on tour? Is this his last year?
Absolutely. He's playing the Olympics, and I think he wants to win Wimbledon. Yeah, I think he has a shot. I mean, I say no, and then I say yes. No, I think he has a shot.
No, not a shot.
This is his last year, yeah.
So
he'll be 39, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Roger Federer's last year. We know he has a big-time global management company, so it's always good for him to be recruiting young talent for his management company that spans multiple sports, by the way. It's always good for him to be on tour promoting his Laver Cup and recruiting players there, obviously, for the PR type tournament and exhibition, style play that the Laver Cup is. So he's building business. But I think this year will be his last year to actively tour around the world, day in and day out. I think he'll do that anyway as a global brand, but I think it's his last year playing. Why? You just said it. He'll be 39 in August, right? August 8th, your birthday. As well, I don't think that Mirka and the babies are going to want to travel like that forever. Surely they, want to kind of settle down, I would think. Number two, I think it's going to be a lot, or number three, I think it's going to be a big year for PR, stunts and so forth, storylines, etc., running into the Olympics for Roger. So I think it's going to be kind of maybe a farewell tour with some good PR moments. Maybe some crying a little bit during.
There'll be crying.
There'll be some crying. Maybe he might throw in a racket smash or something. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I doubt he'll do that. But
No, come on.
I think it's his last year, and I think there'll be a good storyline on it all year long. There'll be some tears shed, and then there might be some scripted WWE type tennis moments written in there, but we'll see. It's his last year though. Number 9, does Rafael Nadal win the French Open in 2020?
I think so. He's getting smart. He's saving his body. He really doesn't try to play too many tournaments. He's a smart guy. He knows he can't go forever. He knows where his best chances are. Absolutely.
Guys, don't shoot me, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to say the streak ends at 12, and he does not get his 13th, the unlucky 13. I think someone beats Rafa this year, and I do not think Rafa wins the French Open final. I've said that like the last 4 in a row, I think. Maybe not on show, but I do think that this year is the year for Rafa to be beaten at the French Open. The body's breaking down in a sense. We'll see though. Maybe he saves it, load control, whatever, but I don't think he wins it. Comment on that below. That's topic 10. Topic number 11, new coaches across the sport, especially on the women's side, moving into 2020.
Let's see. Well, we know that Kerber, they were her coach, and her new coach is called Dieter Kindelman. He was in the top 30 ATP Tour. Coached Madison Keys, not a good sign there. Mertens and Tomjanovic. I don't know that I'd hire him. Just saying. I don't know why she hired him. Didn't do much with Keys.
Yeah, I forget if it with Tomljanovic or is it Tomjanovic. One of those letters is silent, and I forget which one it is.
I mean,
I think it's Tomjanovic. How much time are we at, Chris? What are we at? We're 10, 20... 26. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't do much with them, so I don't know how Kerber game is going to improve. We got Pliskova, who split up with Martinez, no coach. But guess who picked her up? Muguruza, which I think is a perfect fit for her. So Muguruza and Martinez will be together for 2020. They're both Spaniards, similar games. I think it'll work. Well, except she had a one-handed backhand. So.
Didn't you mention Sasha Bajin in there?
I have not yet, but you heard Mladenovic, Bajin let go of her. It was the other way around. He split up with her, and now she has no boyfriend also, Tiem. So she's coachless and no boyfriend.
So look.
So Yamstrenska, the 19-year-old, Diana Yamstrenska has picked up Bajin, which I think is a great collaboration. She's 19. She's from Ukraine. I think that he can make her into a champion.
So sorry for the noise out here. Again, we have some neighbors, nice folks. They're working on a boat that they got. So real quickly to Sasha Bajin. Sasha Bajin, as we know, was part of the Serena squad for a long time. Serena team was a hitting partner of Serena. I do not think he was, influential in making her, Grand Slam champion. She was doing that long before.
No, he was her hitting partner.
Let me finish my speech here on Sasha Bajin. So Sasha Bajin was kind of branded in a way by always kind of being around Serena, especially in social media platforms as it began. He started to jump into the limelight a little bit. Serena and Sasha Bajin had a falling out. He jumps into a camp of an upcoming talented player that won 2 majors, Naomi Osaka. Then I guess he did
a lot for her.
Yeah. So then, in my opinion, his head is on cloud 9. He's way up there. His ego's going up big. He's showing up sideline coaching seemingly all the time with his wonderful combed hair and everything. So and a super tanning bed tan. So what happened to me is he got his ego really high and he jumped on the Tomjanovic camp, or Mladenovic, excuse me, Mladenovic, respectively. Sorry for the name snafu there. Jumps on the Mladenovic camp and basically nothing occurred. I think a lot could be said for the player there. Mladenovic is a beautiful girl and a good player, but not a great player, and not a really a threatening opponent.
Not in singles.
And I think, by the way, Tomjanovic beat Mladenovic in a very important match at the Fed Cup this year at the French Open, a really important one, which pushed that to doubles, in which the French won. Anyway, but now Sasha Bajin gets out of that camp. Maybe it was too tall of a task to make her a great player. And now he is on Team
Yastremska.
Yastremska.
But also Mladenovic's dad has a lot of influence her, and you know nobody wants daddy there and coach there. That's tough.
So Yastremska, on the other hand, is a young and upcoming star, and we have watched her play a lot. So I think right now we can find out a lot about Sasha Virgin. Okay, Team Serena did well, but wasn't the head coach per se. Kind of came off in the media that way. He jumps on to Osaka. Boom, boom. 2 majors, they split. So boom, boom, win-win. However, then you get into Mladenovic. Nothing really transpires, so now you get an L. Now you get a loss, and now you jump on to
Yastremska, which I think is a good pick.
I think it's a good pick,
yeah.
but I think that what remains to be seen is Virgin a good coach, or here's the comment thing. If Yastremska does well with Virgin, is it going to be the storyline Virgin is the greatest? Or can we say that Yastremska is arguably one of the best upcoming talents on the women's tour? So I think it's a lucky thing for Virgin.
It's not a lucky thing. She's good, but she doesn't have all the tools yet, not up here. And I think if he does make her into a contender in the slams, then we can say he's a good coach.
All right, comment on that below. Again, that was number 11, coaches. So one other thing that I think we're gonna push time. So I've got a whole nother page of topics to go. I'm so sorry about the noise.
We can do that in another show.
Yeah, but we can do. I had 20, and we're lucky here to get past 10. So what I'm going to do is we're going to finish off this show on these last 2, and then I'll save my next page for the next show, and I don't have to write it again. Here's number 11. Does Novak Djokovic win multiple majors this year?
I don't think so.
In 2020?
No.
Why?
I think he's becoming more predictable. I think the youngsters are starting to get to know what ticks in his head, how to annoy him. I don't think he has the same energy as he used to have. I mean, they're getting older. I give him the Australian Open and that's it.
I think Djokovic does win multiple majors. I almost debated having Chris hit pause on that because it's so loud. I think it's like HD audio and it's probably killing people right now.
No.
Do you think?
No, I don't think so.
All right. So we'll keep plotting through. What do you think?
We'll finish it.
You think we're good? All right. So I think.
Like I said, if it's not the grass, it's something else.
Yeah, lucky I'm in a positive mood, or I would open the door and be like, "Gee whiz, bro! Like an hour straight
Saturday
for like 3 days straight."
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think Novak Djokovic does win multiple majors this year. I say that because he's the best player, in my opinion, on tour right now. He's the best, and I understand there's some tweaking injuries. I really do understand that. But I think a lot of these injuries are load control, damage control, and keeping a good image. You know, the crowd is already against him in almost every match he plays against some of the other top players. So I don't think he wants to get even more bad rap by pulling out of tournaments left and right. You know, I'm injured.
He
shows
doesn't
up.
pull out.
So
Yeah,
I think
he pulled out a U.S. Open, but I think, I mean, he was down to Rebecca and who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he wins 2 majors next year. I'm going to give him the Australian Open, and I'm going to give him either Wimbledon or the U.S. Not the French, I don't think. It's possible, but I don't think so. So I'm going to end the show on that one because this boat motor is just really, and I'm trying to keep my composure here. Anyway, so we're going to end the show on that one. Comment on all the aforementioned topics below. And in the next day or 2, we'll do another show and start off our next show with this question. Name a couple of players that you will think that will continue to fade away. In other words, go away in 2020 or begin to fade away in 2020. And I had my list, and I'll save that list for next show. But that is how we will start the next show. Anyway, thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. Click like below, share the video, get ready for our prize giveaways for the Australian Open. Thanks so much to YTEX Strings for helping us out with these prize giveaways for all these majors. And Ivor Savage, good friend, personal friend, and as well the CEO of the company. So thanks so much for your support, especially during this injury as well. And we will see you guys, if not tomorrow, the next day to finish off the second part.
We won't see you tomorrow because I teach.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next day.
Okay.
Maybe.
So, I have physical therapy
Yeah,
that day.
it's a long
So
time.
we'll see what happens. Anyway, we'll see you soon, and we'll finish off these topics on the next show. Until then, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time. Adios.